Well, on this episode, we're going to feature once again more on ChocoPro episode 149 with a very interesting event, summer party show. But also, we got to review DDT Pro Wrestling's past event that took place back in early May. But also, we got NWA 73rd. What a great event! Two NWA shows in one weekend. Of course, we witnessed Empower, and now we got this NWA 73rd. So, let's get started with another episode of the Leah Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay right here. So let's begin with Got2 Move's latest ChocoPro 149 Summer Party Show. Now, this is one of two shows they put on for the weekend. Very, how do I say this? Curious. Not your typical match, but I think I have the question. Emmy, do you really trust your people like Balinaki, Lulu, Sayaka, Sarui, everyone else? You just left the animals run the asylum. So let's just talk about it. First match is a watermelon split special rules match. Basically, the idea was if you break the watermelon, you lose. Now, this one had Rina Amikura versus Mei Shiruga. Now, I've always said right now, Mei Shiruga is a sly devil. And somehow she got away with it by winning the match, by making sure Amikura loses the match. And of course she did. She gets away with it by eating watermelon. So I don't know if this was a good idea. And besides, there's watermelon spilled all over the mat. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, we'll talk about that some other time. But now the next match, I don't know what is Bali Aki thinking. He closed the windows, the doors, turned off the air conditioner. It was a very hot match between him, Masahiro Takanashi, and someone called himself Kagura. He completely lost his mind. But of course, Maeve and several others tried to turn on the air conditioner. Basically, they were fighting over how hot it is, but can they handle the heat? However, the match ended in no contest. So basically, that was Chiko Ishikawa who played the ref of that particular match. That's the reason it was no contest. Now we get the last match is a battle royale match. We have Yuna Mizumori versus Tokiko Kirihara versus Rina Amikura versus Balan Aki versus Sarui versus Chi Koshikawa, Meisha Uruga, and Kampa Kozo. And there was a kiddie pool right there. And they left a huge mess in this match. Now, I saw this on Twitter. Sakura, what were you thinking leaving this mess? I don't know what was that all about, but I cannot determine whether this was a good match or not. Let's just put a question mark on that. But it was Yuna Mizumuru who picked up the victory when she threw in the kiddie pool Kapakazo. And I don't know. I lost track of that, and I don't know what to think of it anymore. I mean, I love the ChocoPro events, but I will explain something else regarding involvement of ChocoPro, and I think you guys are going to like this. This is going to be part of the news updates, but right now I say let's move on with DDT Pro Wrestling right now. Okay, so DDT Pro Wrestling had their latest event back in early May on the 2nd, I believe. This is called Bakuha Koshien 2021 Spring. I don't know what that means, but they had two matches involving spring tag team tournaments using that same name. First match, we got Yukio Naya and Sanshiro Takagi taking on 37 Kamina, consistent of Mao and Shun Katsumata. Fun match, I enjoy it. Of course, uh, it's 37 Kamina who actually picked up the victory on this one, even though Takagi and Naya were not pleased that they did not win the victory. But however, the next match we had Tetsuhiro Kuruda and Super Sasadango Machine versus Yumehito Imanari and, of course, deathmatch legend Atsushi Onada. Hopefully, I got to pronounce it right. And similar results. Apparently, it ended up with Kuruda and Sasadango Machine winning the match. But however, you know, um, Onita and of course could not take it. But it was later put in the end of the match, an 8-man final match, but this time with something special, and I'll get to that in a bit. Now, the next match we have Yuna Manaze taking on Mecha Pandita, similar to a panda. Don't ask me why. Mecha is a robot the way it is. Really very entertaining. But however, Mecha did not came out well as soon as losing the match to Yuna. I have to say Yuna is a well respected in the Yoshi world, but yeah, that's how I see it. Now the next match we have Shota taking on Chris Brooks. A really good match. I have to say this was a very solid match. Now, did I think that Shota was going to win this one? To be honest with you, I feel like Chris Brooks had the much better advantage because he's well recognized, more of the type that is willing to determine the win, no matter who gets in his way. If that includes Shota, then yes. So Chris Brooks won this one. Now our main event was the Bakuha Koshien Spring Tag Team Tournament Final 8-man Tag Team current blast death match. Basically, we have one corner Yumehito Imanari, Yukio Naya, and Sanshiro Takagi and Atsushi Onadi, taking on Kamina with Mao Katsumata, Super Sasadango Machine, and of course Kuruda. This match had an exploding barbed wire explosion. So insane, I have to say. Everybody enjoyed it. I don't know what Takagi was thinking when he brought a bike and Mao whacked him with the baseball bat, exploding. And if you think it's crazy, it is. But it was Unadi who picked up the victory when he whacked right in the chest area with Super Sasadango Machine, allowing himself to win the match with one of his exploding weapons, and it's nuts. But this felt okay. Didn't give me like the question mark, I'll say. But for me, I'll give it a 6. You know, that's how it is. So let's move on with the final, which is, of course, NWA 73rd. Okay, so this is one of two of NWA's pay-per-views during the weekend. We have NWA 73rd, which was a great event. A lot of surprises. Even though we don't normally do pre-shows, but I have to. First match, we have Lady Frost teaming up with the newly crowned NWA Women's Tag Team Champions, the Hex, Allysin Kay, and Marty Bell, taking on Terrence Harrell, Paula Mayfield, and Genocide. Now, Lady Frost, if you guys know this, she has of this type of attitude where she'll take advantage when it's the right moment. Basically, pick up the victory out of her own expense. And that kind of played out very well. She even tried to sneak play one during the battle royale for the #1 contendership at the Women's Invitational, but she actually made a blind tag. Now the Hex were not happy with it, but at least they can enjoy the day. The second pre-show was PJ Hawks taking on Colby Corino. Now keep in mind, the Colby Corino never considers PJ Hawks a second generation. He thinks that his dad didn't do anything, and that's always been the case. Basically, it's kind of like a rivalry who is the better second generation in their families. I have to say both men did pretty well, but it was PJ Hawks who picked up an amazing victory to allow himself to win it for himself, and it was pretty good. So I enjoyed it. I don't think this is going to be the last we see those two at all, but we'll see what happens then. Now, when we begin the main card with the Brawl in the Lou, is a triple threat match. We have Tim Storm, Tom Latimer, and Crimson. Now, Jack Sting attacked Crimson before the bell rings. I don't know what's been going on, but however, that wasn't the only thing that took place before the bell of the ring. Tom Latimer even attacked Tim Storm in order to take advantage to win. However, it didn't happen that way, but I was surprised. Crimson was out completely, but the match went on pretty well. From what I can see, it showed Crimson wasn't going to give up, neither is Tim Storm, no matter how much savage Tom Latimer can be. And it fits on a pretty good story, but however, it was Tim Storm who walked away with the victory, which was really great. Now, the next match, we have an amazing women's match. We have Kylie Ray taking on Mickie James. Pretty good match, you know, veteran versus a up-and-coming star, which plays out pretty well. But however, it was Mickie James who won this match pretty well. But the biggest thing took place, a masked woman showed up and attacked her. It turned out to be Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo, it feels Mickie James keeps getting in her business. Now, basically, it has no problem teaching her a lesson, and she thinks she will put her out of her misery. The P in the list of women she crushes. But we'll see what happens. If I'm Mickie James, I'll think that she'll be stopping by at Impact Wrestling no matter what. Now, the next match, we have Jordan Clearwater, the Mystery Mask, or Mask Mystery, whatever he calls himself, now calling himself Zion, and Tyrus taking on the End, Odison, Pero, and the Pope. Now, Tyrus and Austin Idol, who's by his side, no, they don't want nothing to prove the Pope, and apparently this is what happened. They want to prove something, saying the Pope is a punk, didn't deserve anything. However, they played the mind games. Black Jesus even showed up costing the match. But however, that wasn't the problem. The problem was Zion blind tagged Tyrus. Tyrus was not happy. Now, I asked myself, why would he do that? Why would Zion blind tag Tyrus? And I start, wait a minute. He is the winner for the Champion Series. What if he wants to challenge Tyrus for the NWA television title? And I didn't think of this, but it makes perfect sense. Now, if that's the case, I'm hoping they show that in NWA Power on Tuesday, but we'll see what happens then. Now, the next match we have is for the NWA National title between James Storm and Chris Adonis. Good match, I have to say. It showed a lot of character with James Storm, but of course, Adonis, who is determined not to lose the title, no matter means necessary. And not only that, he messed with Storm's beer. You never mess with someone else's beer, but somehow he got away with it to retain the title. And that's what he's going to do. He's strictly business, and they will retain the title no matter what. Now, as soon as the match was over, we just saw the appearance of Ric Flair. He did an amazing promo. I think people got emotional. They were behind. And of course, he did say to to Billy Corgan, ask him, what can I do? This, like, you're Ric Flair, do whatever you want. I'm like, he did exactly that. And he made references to wrestlers from WWE, which normally people don't bring it up, but they do. They're not afraid to do it. And it kind of felt natural with it. And of course, Rick seems like he wants to burst into tears, but he didn't do that. But it was a good promo. I enjoyed it. I think it was great that part of history of NWA lives on with Flair, and I think future generation can appreciate that. When they think about Flair, they'll think of him, how much he accomplished in the NWA. Now, we were supposed to originally have a 12-man battle royale to determine the number one contender for the national championship. We had El Rudo, Jimmy Stanley, Marshe Rocket, Slice Boogie, Jeremiah Pluckett, Luke Hawx, JTG, Captain Yuma, Rush Freeman, Jaden, Mims, Sal Renal, but they added Judeas. I had to say, it was undetermined for me who was going to win. Now, when we get to the end, I thought we were going to have JTG because he felt like he was robbed of the national title, but this time it did not go that way because this guy named Judeas showed up with Father James Mitchell. Looks more likely that he is wannabe a force to be reckoned, and he won completely. He was like the one monster you couldn't put out, and I think it played out amazing in that story, and I think that's what I like about it. Now, the next match is for the NWA World Women's title between the winner of the Women's Invitational Cup in Empower, Chelsea Green, taking on Camille. Camille, we all know, is a powerhouse, but not to mention, we all knew somehow she was going to use Camille's injured wrist as a way to win the match, and she pulled it off with an amazing submission, forcing her to tap out. And that kind of shows she's dominant no matter what, and there's no one who can actually dethrone her for the title. But don't say there's no one. There is someone, even if it takes 1,000 years. Now, the next match is the NWA World Tag Team titles. We have La Rebellion, Mecha Wolf, Bestia 666, being accompanied by none other than wrestling legend Conan, taking on the champions Aaron Stevens. Kratos, I have to say, this match was unbelievably good because it played out a great psychological story where Rebellion are trying to determine they are the ones who are going to be dominant in the tag team division, and they did. They even tried to separate Stevens away from Kratos, and it worked. However, they were Mecha Wolf and Bestia 666 now became history. Two Latinos winning the NWA World Tag Team Championships. It meant something. Now, for me as a Latino, it's something that the history needs to be written. And that's exactly what these two guys did. Um, I have to say it was a pretty good match. I think it was the right timing to have Stevens and Kratos to drop the titles, but don't forget these guys may have targets on their backs. Now we get to the main event, the NWA World Heavyweight title. Now, all this would do anything to ensure he is sick and tired of Murdoch. He would do anything to stop him from trying to take away what's his. But the real question is, did he had whatever he had in his tank or his arsenal to win? It played out a very solid psychological way. But in the most shocking, I'm like saying, whoa, he didn't even use strictly business involved. And that kind of felt weird because they always have his back. But this time, he didn't. But when things were getting out of control, he even got in the face with Billy Corgan, calling him Conspiracy Billy Corgan. And however, Murdoch played like this soldier, the hero who refuses to give up no matter what all this did. I think it played amazingly, even when he put him really good in a power driver in remembrance of Harley Race, its icon, his idol, and putting him out with the Bulldog, allowing for Murdoch for finally becoming the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. And his family was there. Everybody were happy. I was happy. He gave an emotional promotion and all this and that. And now he's a fighting champion. Now he's going to lead the NWA by example. And I think he's ready for it. But the real question is all this going to cash in on his rematch? Well, we'll see when that happens. Because if I'm all this isn't over yet until the fat lady sings, or in his case, reclaims what is rightfully his. Okay, so here's some news updates for all of you. Now, as you know, New Japan Pro Wrestling has brand new young lions. I have mentioned this on previous episodes, but I wondered what happened to one of them, Yoto Tsuji. Apparently, it turned out that he actually is currently on excursion. He ended up in the UK, but do I think he's working with Rev Pro? It's a possibility because a previous young lion named Shota Umino went to the UK and he was working with Pro Wrestling Rev Pro. It could be a possibility. Now, speaking of New Japan Pro Wrestling, it's now been revealed that Bushi and Shingo Takagi are now medically cleared to wrestle due to the fact they both were contracted COVID-19 and unable to attend. It's a good thing that they're back, they're ready to participate and wrestle Grand Slam, and I'm very happy with it. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in this news updates, I saw this on Twitter. I didn't see it on any news outlets anywhere. Daniel Garcia is interested in going to Japan and wrestle with ChocoPro. That kind of surprised me, but Emi Sakura said we can make it happen here. Now, there was talk about this before. The ChocoPro could expand in the US with Emi Sakura and now Lulu Pencil. And I have to say, it's a pretty good thing. Even Lulu Pencil wants to challenge him. And of course, what's his name? Excalibur, who's fond of the Japanese wrestling scene. He seems interested in that. And the real question is, when will it happen? Where and how? I mean, who would join to be doing this ChocoPro alongside? And they want to do this in Chicago and all out. I'm like, whoa. But it will be only on YouTube, if I correct. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for Emi Sakura to get wrestlers involved, because what they do in ChocoPro, it's unique. You don't see that here in the States, but hopefully someone out there is willing to do something. And I think I'm pretty curious to see how this is going to go. But I will follow more on this one as much as possible until more information comes out. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Had a great time watching NWA 33, and I don't know what to make of ChocoPro, but um, I'll just leave it as that and move forward. Coming up, we got AEW Dark Elevation. Gonna throw in finally the day one of Ring of Honor by Glory by Honor, and two events by a promotion I never heard of. Is called H2O, which stands for Hardcore Hustle Organization. Two events from them on 2 separate months. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye, mwah, and have a nice day. Bang.